it didn't. I have to check on it while everybody sees the top of my head. We're live. You get to see the top of my head, folks, once again.
Here, I'll do it too.
Hey, there we are. We're twinsies, twin winning. So, Facebook, today you have somebody that I adore. Actually, the world adores him. I met him at Portland Comedy Festival of 2019. Shout out to Dante and Rebecca. Yes,
They're the
Dante
best.
Ruscialelli and Rebecca Koch put it on. And that's where I met this guy. And he hosted 99 out of 100 different things that week. He kills on stage. He's funny. He's engaging. Oh my gosh. You ever get a chance to see Mike Eaton, you have to do it. But let me read you what he wrote to me as his intro, because that was just me winging it. His intro is, and I quote, because I don't steal people's words, Mike Eaton, speaking of himself, is a
Yeah,
stand-up.
I know. I wrote it in the third person. Sound like a
I love
tremendous douche.
that. I love Mike Eaton speaks of himself in the third person. Is a stand-up comedian from Texas. Oh my gosh, who lives in and performs in LA. Times he was able to perform at amazing venues like the Comedy Store and the Ice House. Oh my gosh, and ran an amazing drinking game show called Party Words. Now he smokes diamonds, which I'm interested in doing all of a sudden, and gets amazing tattoos. I'm Jewish, no thanks, and writes jokes waiting for the world to open back up. Let's chop it up with your friend to be and Mike from the real life, Mike Eaton. Welcome, Mike.
Hello.
Woo!
Hi, Linda. Thanks so much for having me.
You betcha, Mike. Talk to me. You're over there a little bit east of LA, right?
Yeah, just hanging out. So these are the diamonds that I was talking about. So they're it's just this new weed thing I found out about where it's just like super potent weed. And I think it's hilarious that they call them diamonds. So, you
That
know,
is cool. That's so
yeah.
cool. I wonder why they call them diamonds. Is that like, are they super expensive? It's in the elite
I
cat.
mean, they're a little pricey, but I mean, not too much. They kind of look diamond-esque.
Nice. I'd want to put it on
So,
my wrinkles.
right?
Would
Yeah.
it work?
No, I use it for an eye cream. I'm actually 70, so I just look very young.
Diamonds, girls. Let's do the diamonds.
Girl's
So,
best friend, you know it.
yes. So, what's it like being originally from Texas, living in LA? You must feel like, have felt to begin with like a fish out of water when you came.
Well, it's very funny. I lived in Austin before I moved here, and I grew up in Dallas. And Dallas is the most boring city in Texas. That's like a real city. Uh, and when I lived in Austin, I met so many people from California, and two of my closest friends there were from LA. And they
Mhm.
always told me that I would just fit in so much better there. And so they were like, "You should move to LA." And then when I started comedy, like I should do that. And when I got out here, no one really could guess that I was from Texas. I don't
No.
have much of an accent,
Oh,
it was just like very incognito, and it was just really fun to surprise people by telling like, "Oh, hey, I'm from Texas. My family, super Republican," and then they see like, this tattooed guy with bleached hair, and they're like, "That doesn't make what?"
I
But
love it.
I love it here. It's the most at home I've ever felt in a city. I mean, LA's perfect for me. It's
It
it's an
is.
ambitious city, you know.
And so you're ambitious, is what you're saying?
I would say so. I don't know. I set really high hopes for myself, and I aim for them a lot. And I think it's like a really good thing to do. Like I think
Yes.
everybody should have like super giant aspirations because it just makes the your life so much better when you're aiming for something huge.
Absolutely. My goal is to one day get ready for this. You're going to think I'm nuts. To one day get up on stage at Madison Square Garden and make people laugh. I don't know why.
Heck
It
yeah.
may never happen, but it gets me out of bed in the morning anyway.
Yeah, it's exciting. No, you got to have a big goal like that.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
I I have a crazy stupid goal. So I heard a quote one time that's that every man dies twice, once when he leaves the earth and once again when his name is last spoken. So just the
Wow.
idea that you die 2 times, and my goal is to never die a second time. I want to
Wow.
leave a legacy where my name is always spoken. So I don't know what that means, but it's a big goal and it's something to shoot for aspirationally. And it makes life exciting, and it gives me a compass bearing.
What makes you so good with people? I mean, you're a great host. Don't get me wrong, you're funny as all PH, but you are also equally great with people. You connect with an audience. They know you love them. You could get away with murder on stage, and 99% of the comics can't. What makes you love people so much? I know you love, I'm not even going to ask you. I know you love everybody. What makes you be that way?
Well, first off, I really appreciate that because that is a very sweet compliment. Uh, I,
It's
I
true.
mean, I got to tell you, like, I grew up. So I'm an only child.
Mhm.
Technically, I have a half sister who's 8 years younger than me. And my parents split up pretty early on, and so I grew up with like trying to get a lot of attention, and I didn't make a lot of friends very easily, and I just never really fit in.
Mhm.
And so when I have grown up, I just have wanted to always make everyone around me feel accepted because I knew how bad it feels to not feel that. Like if you spend like a bunch of time feeling a negative feeling, like I think the best thing that can come from that is to make sure that other people don't feel that. I've had a lot of very sad periods in my life. And so it's really exciting and cool to me that I get to take a lot of those embarrassing and silly and stupid stories and turn them into something awesome like comedy. Like if I can make jokes and I can make people happy, I can't tell you how many bad days I've had where it was just like nothing felt okay. Whether it was a loved one passing away or losing a job or losing a relationship, where I could put on one of my favorite stand-up albums and suddenly everything was just gonna be okay. And if I can do a little bit of that, then it's so easy to connect with people because I'm not trying to. I just want everyone to feel happy and I want people to feel loved. And I think that we all have something inside of us that can tell when someone's being authentic. And I think that that's why I connect with audiences because they know that I'm really excited to be there because I am. Like I'm doing the thing that I was put on this earth to do, and that I'm like super excited and like grateful for the opportunity. Like of course they're gonna feel something from there because that's like at the very essence of my being.
Do you know what?
What?
I think that somebody cloned one of us to the other. That's exactly when my parents went through the Holocaust. You know,
Wow.
the Holocaust that did exist, that
Yeah,
one.
no, I know about it. I've heard I've heard of the Holocaust. I know I have blonde hair, but like it
I'm
wasn't like
teasing.
a Hitler thing.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing. I'm teasing you because that's just one of my favorite jokes is that my parents went through the Holocaust that did exist. How else are you going to make Holocaust funny? And so they were out to lunch emotionally. They had nothing to give my whole life, except for glimpses every once in a while. And so I never want anyone to feel not wanted, not loved, not paid attention to. So I have the same exact um, impetus when I go on stage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why people respond so positively to you too. I mean, people love seeing you and connecting with you. And every single person at the Portland Comedy Fest there knew who you were and was excited to say hi to you. I mean, and you knew everyone's name. I mean, it's that's one of my favorite things about comedy is that uh you spend a lot of your life searching for your tribe. And like a lot of people in like the self-help world and like business world use that term and they try and business it up, but really it's just finding a group of people that think like you and hold the same ideals as you. And sometimes that's dangerous, but if you have a good moral compass and you have like a good heart, and then you find other people that are doing what you want to do, and you can meet people at all different levels of this with all different amounts of experience, like it's so cool. Like I love, that's the thing I miss second most. I miss performing more than anything because that's the greatest thing on earth. But I right after that I miss being around a bunch of comedians and just
Me too.
that spice of life of just seeing everybody, you know?
Yes. I don't get invited to a lot of comedy parties because I don't partake in any kind of like, I still call it marijuana,
Nice.
and then that just makes me look like I'm a narc.
Gotta
And
have marijuana.
so nobody wants me at their parties. I get it, and nobody really wants to party down with grandma in the corner.
Well,
So
I mean, but there are tons of groups of people that don't drink and don't smoke and also do there. That's the thing about comedy. There's somebody that's into everything, and they're a comedian somewhere. And like we
yeah,
now have these amazing tools like Zoom and Facebook and all this other stuff where we can connect these people all over the country. I'm connected with comedians in states I've never even been to. That's
thank you.
bonkers.
It's crazy. This wouldn't have happened without, you know, I'm not happy that the pandemic happened, but it has broadened us so much in ways that wouldn't have happened before. So we have something to be thankful for, is all.
Absolutely. And what is comedy if not making the best of a bad situation?
Yeah, that's where we should shine.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best time for. I mean, we're the court jesters. You know, those people historically were there to bring bad news in a way that they didn't get murdered for. Like, you know, we used to have to say, "Don't shoot the messenger," because you'd come from another city and be like, "Hey, some bad shit's happening," and then the king would be like, "Kill that dude." No, bad. And then like they're like, "How do we fix this?" And then a bunch of people like us were like, "Oh, we could say like a funny version." And I mean now we have Jimmy Fallon, but it's the same thing. Like we when there's something grim that needs to be addressed, like who better than the funny philosophers?
Yes, absolutely. I trained all the court jesters back in my day. It was job security for me, not so
That's
much for the
great.
teasing. Okay, so you started in Texas. Somebody said you were funny, and then one day you said, I'm really going to do it. What was that? How did you go from being in Texas, being a Texan in Texas, and all of a sudden you're on stage doing comedy in LA? What was it that pushed you onto the stage, Mike?
Oh man, I have a kind of weird story. I mean most of my life has been very weird. So I went through my first really big breakup in 2016. And on 420, the marijuana holiday of 2016, I went to an open mic at Hyenas in Dallas, in Mockingbird Station. And I signed up and I got real high with my friends in the parking lot. And one of my other buddies was going to try it too. And we waited and waited and waited. And I think I didn't get up until like 1:15 in the morning. And I had been there since like 6 or 7. I mean, it was just grueling, and I went up there for like 3.5 minutes. I did a couple of stupid jokes, and I had a lot of fun, and I liked it. And I remember like feeling on stage like, well, this is fucking stupid. There's 10 people left here, and they're all exhausted. No one's excited to hear this, and they still laughed at that. Maybe there's something here, and I was excited about it. And a guy from my work, I was working like 4 jobs at the time, and
How
just
many?
to 4. They were all like part-time weird jobs, and it was just to distract myself and keep me busy so I didn't have to deal with anything. But one of the places was a Trader Joe's, and one of the guys I worked with at Trader Joe's helped put together this festival, and it was the Trash Bash Music Stash, and he paid me $50 to MC it. So right after my first open mic, I got a paid gig, which I now realize is insane. But so I get this gig, and he tells me I'm going to do it. I'm so excited. I reach out to all my friends. Everybody's busy that day, so I can't get anybody to come support me. I'm pretty nervous. The day comes, and the idea of this festival was they pick people up in a bus, they drive them 2 miles away from the venue, and then they pick up trash on a 2-mile walk back, and then they get free drinks. So it was like a music festival with free drinks for people picking up trash in the neighborhood surrounding the bar. So like a super cool idea. Like I was super down with it. I was super excited, and I'm supposed to host. Well, the buses are running late, so the day starts late. It's 10 degrees hotter than it's supposed to be, so it's like 104 outside. Everybody is sweating profusely, and then the CO2 for the taps for the beer goes out. So all of the draft beers are out, and they can't get anybody out to fix it. So they're having to give people liquor, but they're like, you can only have free well drinks. So people are just fucking hammered. And we're starting like 2.5 hours late, and there's sound problems. When we finally start, and then my buddy goes and he put together and produced everything. So he gets up there and he thanks all the sponsors, which is how I was going to start. So I'm like, shit, all right, that's my opening move. It's gone. All right, well, let's improv. Second time on stage. And so then he's like, all right, now give it up for your MC, Mike Eaton. And then he gives it up to me. And I'm like, oh, man, well, I wanted to thank our sponsors this evening, but we have to thank the most important people, everyone who litters. Because without them, where would we even be today? And people started booing. They started booing loud, and a woman like stood up like maybe 10 feet from me, and he goes, "Is this your first time?" And I had no backbone. I had no stage presence. I had nothing. And I just crumbled. And I was like, oh, a second. And then I just tried pandering. I got off stage and I got drunk and I messed up one of the band names later. This awesome band, Uneasy Pilgrim. I introduced them as the Pilgrim Men. And their awesome guitarist, Justin Casey, just was like, fuck it, we're the Pilgrim Men. And just rolled with it. But so that was my first like paid gig, and it was awful. And so I go home and I'm distraught, and I didn't do it again for like a year and a half. And I moved down to Austin. And when I was down there, there's a club there called Cap City. And it's an amazing club. And their open mic, you sign up via email, and then they respond with the list. So you don't have to go and wait in line. You know where you are. You sign up, and then you go. And there's like 60 human beings, like audience members, not comics, watching. Because it's at a big comedy club, and it's on a Sunday night, and it's the coolest thing ever. So I signed up for it, and I got on it. I invited a bunch of people out, and I went and did this open mic, and I did reasonably well. All of my jokes got laughs, and I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I've done this now. I'm good at it. This is good. And I started telling people I was a comedian in my life, but I wasn't yet. Like I wasn't doing it actively. I'd done it and then I did it like 2 or 3 more times at that same open mic, but I wasn't going anywhere else. I was doing well there, but like I wasn't talking to comedians. I wasn't doing any of the comedy stuff. I was just going and performing every few weeks. And then in March of 2018, I visited LA for a work trip, and I went to the Comedy Store and saw a show in the Belly Room. And then I went back to the store and saw a show in the main room. And then I went to the Largo and saw a show. And then I took an Uber from the Largo to the store again and watched a show in the original room. And then got to talk to a couple of comics that I really, really, and I hate that I can't remember who it was, but I've spent so much time now in meeting people I admire there that it all kind of blurs. But I had this just feeling while I was sitting there at the store that it was like, I need to be here. Like I need to figure out a way to do comedy like these people do comedy, and not just this bullshit couple of times a month. And I got back to Austin, and I just tried to figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't know really where to start. I've got pretty bad anxiety and ADHD, and so I have trouble starting things. And I ended up finding an open mic list, and then a Facebook group, and then a couple of people. And I went on a Saturday to this place called the Love Goat on May, I think 17th or 18th. And I went and I parked outside. And as I was walking there, I threw up in the parking lot and went back to my car and drove home and gave up. Like, shit. And then the next day, I went to a place called Mr. Tramp's. It's a little sports bar in Austin that's just the shittiest place on earth, and I love it. And I went there and I did that mic, and that was when I was like, yeah, I know what I need to do. And I started performing like 5 or 6 days a week. And every day that I could get up at an open mic, I was there, and I was writing and I was improving. And then I started recording my sets. And then I traveled for my job. And so I would go to Houston and I would start, I would get up there. And then I would go to San Antonio, and I got my first show performing for a homeless group. And I performed at a homeless center and I had a great time.
Aren't those fun? Those
it was cool.
I love
we followed bingo.
They're so appreciative, and they listen to every word.
They really do. And they have an unbelievable sense of humor about their situation.
Yes.
Like you can poke fun at them and the caretakers are more sensitive than the people that are actually at the shelter. And
Absolutely.
so I poked fun back at the caretakers, and the people there love it. They all love it. I mean, but I did that, and then I got my first paid show from this amazing comic, Zaya Duji from the Secret Group in Houston, booked me for this show called $3 Bill or $2 Bill. I can't remember which is theirs, and I feel bad, but I still have the cash from it sitting in a like an envelope over in my dresser. Like I did that, and I was like, fuck, like everything's working. Like I'm doing comedy and I'm getting results. I'm getting shows. I'm getting better. I think I'm funny. People tell me I'm funny. I got to get to LA. And a guy I had done like some kind of side work with ran a coaching business for loan officers of all things out here in LA. And a guy that worked with him said he had a room to rent. So I quit like my amazing job and I got rid of like 80%. I gave like almost everything I owned to comics in Austin, like all my furniture, like all
Done
this
that.
stuff to comics.
I've done
And
that in Portland.
it's great, right? Like it's such a nice thing because like comics are poor. Like most comics have no money, and them getting nice new furniture is like a big deal. And I've been very fortunate to be gifted in the business world and have great parents and a support system and a lot of good business opportunities. So I haven't had to struggle that much financially. I mean, I do from time to time, but it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And so I like to give back, and I put everything in my car and I moved out to LA and moved in with one friend and two strangers, and they've become close friends and started a new job. And I put everything into it, and then I came out here, and the best part about LA is that there's 10 mics a day. I mean, there's stuff you can do literally every day. So I just started going ham on comedy, and I was just every day I was at a mic somewhere. At some points I was doing 10 a week. I think my
Wow.
record was 17 in 1 week. And I was recording all of it. I was listening to it, and I was writing for when I was listening. And that was cool. And that if you put your all into something and then you get excited and you meet people and you try to learn from other comics, then like you can go fast quickly that way. I mean, I love talking to people and I love getting to know people, and I'm excited for every opportunity because it's something to get me closer to something else. It's that's how I got from Texas to LA, and that's how I'll get where I'm going the rest of my life. It's just with a big
So
smile and a positive attitude.
what's it like to do comedy at the Ice House and Comedy Store? I want to hear that real quickly, please.
So I moved out to LA in November of 2018, 6 months into comedy. And I'm like 6 months into like really doing comedy, which is just a silly move. Like, thinking about it, but I was like, I'm special, fuck it, I'm going. So I drove out here and I got here on a Friday, and I went to my first open mic here on a Sunday, and then I went to the Comedy Store on Monday and went and saw Kill Tony, and I signed up for Potluck and Kill Tony. I didn't get up on Potluck, and then I'm smoking my weed pen outside, and I walk into Kill Tony to check on it, and they call my name. And I'm like, huh, fuck. And all of my jokes I've ever written flood out of my brain. I don't remember anything. I don't know words. I'm at the Comedy Store. I'm like, oh my God. It's a full room of whatever the main room holds. So like 350 people, and they're cheering and clapping. I'm fat and out of shape. So I run on the stage and I'm like, and then I'm like talking and I'm like just shaking like Michael J. Fox. I mean, it is ridiculous. And then I say the jokes I thought of that day. You only get a minute. And I'm like, fuck, what even do I have that's a minute long? How long is a minute? Like I'm terrified, and I bumble through these jokes, and I got one decent joke about how many how poorly I thought veterinarians made a lot of money, but I keep seeing homeless vets everywhere, and they have their dogs with them, like a shitty resume, like look what I can do, and like that was all I could kind of to muster out with a couple other dead ends. And then I did the interview, and they loved me, and they were great in the interview, and it was really fun. And I met a lot of great people that night, made a lot of really good connections. It was like, holy shit, things are working. I just got to perform at the Comedy Store, and I've lived here for 3 days. And then I've gotten to do a couple of shows with a wonderful producer, Tammy Jo Deeren, in the belly room. She has a show called Shut the Fuck Up and another show called Bitch. And I've been fortunate enough to do both of those. And then I got to go up on the potluck open mic in the original room twice, which
Wow.
is awesome. So, those have been really cool. And the Ice House, Dante had a hosting gig where I think he was busy, but he just was like, "Hey, I'm going to give you a shot." And I got to host and open with Felicia Michaels and
Love
Mary
her.
Carter and Stuttering John Melendez and Raquel Pomplin was there. But yeah, it was just like a super great night and with a whole lot of fun. And I loved it. I absolutely love those big clubs and getting to see the way that big clubs in like the biggest comedy city that I've been
Yeah.
to, because I haven't done comedy in New York yet, but that was for this year, and then the coronavirus. But
I'm going to New York in December for the Broadway Comedy Club Christmas party, and
oh,
I'll be
cool.
hanging out at Comic Strip Lives and at Greenwich Village. So come with me.
That sounds awesome.
Let's tear up
December?
the city.
Sounds like
December.
a plan.
It's like the first week in December for the Christmas party. Everybody can go. So you'll be
Nice.
invited. Yeah, Al Martin, I interviewed him. He's like, "You got to come to it." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'll do it."
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
all the club owners are my age. So I love New York. No big deal to me. You own a
That's
club.
awesome.
I'm older than you. So who's winning?
Yeah.
Where can people follow you? I should get off here. I'm at 31 minutes online.
Oh boy, yeah. I'm sorry. I can talk forever.
That's okay.
Follow me on Instagram. The Mike Eaton. THE Mike. Eat on is my last name. It's just directions to look like me.
And do you have a YouTube that people can follow?
Yeah, just Mike Eaton. I've got a couple of clips on there. I've got a clip from the Cortland Comedy Festival. I've got one. I've got one from the Ice House where I got to be on a showcase that the Sklar brothers were on. So
I love this. I saw them in New York in the 90s.
They're great. They
are
geniuses.
They did a show where they had stuff projected on the wall and a old-fashioned metal pointer and tore up Catch a Rising Star. The place up.
That's awesome.
Like a TED Talk before TED Talks.
Geniuses.
Yeah. Okay, so any place else you want traffic?
No, that would be great. I would love to connect with anyone that wants to. I'm usually around. So
super, thanks for coming on, and you're so great. Anytime you have anything to plug or promote, please come back.
I will. Thank you so much, Linda. You are the sweetest. I really appreciate you.
I love you. I did from the first time I saw you. And now
Absolutely mutual.
Now I know why we have the same impetus.
Absolutely. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.